So good morning, welcoming those here and those across space and time to our introduction to the Wheel of Awareness. And in this class, we're going to just focus on the Wheel of Awareness itself. In future classes, we will go more in depth to some of the aspects of it and really relate it to SoulWork, to parts work, to working with the different aspects of ourselves. And the wheel will morph and modify as we adapt it to different themes. The Wheel of Awareness was developed by Dan Seigel, who's a psychiatrist at UCLA, and he actually had a table that looks a little like this in his office. There was a glass hub in the middle where you could see the word awareness, and there was the rim. And as he worked with people, really taking into consideration neuroscience and how the brain works, he wanted ways that he could help people, help their brains become more integrated and coherent and in balance. So intuitively, with his deep understanding of the brain, psychology, neuroscience, this practice slowly developed, and he had no background in meditation or mindfulness, any of that. So he began to realize that with awareness, which is the hub at the core, perhaps that's who we really are, and that we can bring that awareness through our attention to what he called the first five senses, the first quadrant. So we can bring our awareness to sight, which is often the predominant sense that blocks out all the other ones or seems to take center stage, sound and hearing, to fragrance, to that very old part of our brains, to taste, and to touch. And then as he moves that spoke over, you can bring it to what he called the sixth sense, which is the body sensations. So it's an internal felt experience of the body, which most of us don't pay any attention to. And as Freud said, the ego rests on the body ego. That felt bodily sense of self is one of the first things that the infant experiences, this kinesthetic, proprioceptive, inner awareness of themselves. So that's foundational. And most of us in our culture, as we find, are pretty disembodied due to neglect and trauma and just the fastness of our culture. We tend to come up and out of our bodies. One of the things that he does in the wheel practice is he's the only body scan, because there are a lot of body scan meditations. John Kabat-Zinn's work at Mass General, where he developed his full catastrophe living in the book, this wonderful program of mindfulness training. He always starts with the body scan, but Seigel's is anatomically correct. It's based on that map, that brain map, if you remember that little homonucleus in the brain. So it actually weighs and focuses on the organ systems and on that brain map, giving more focus to areas that have more surface area of our somatosensory cortex in the brain. Then he brings our awareness in the seventh sense, which is the mental activities or the mental formations. So we can become aware of what's arising, what's falling away, what's happening inside our minds. And then the fourth quadrant or segment is the sense of interconnection and interrelatedness, where he focuses on the me and the we and brings those together. So he starts with awareness, and that's really one of the deepest questions today is, especially in consciousness research, what is awareness? How does it develop? Is it emergent property? Most in our materialistic neuroscience culture, we believe when there are enough connections that awareness somehow arises out of that. But there are a lot of other theories and views, some of which feel that the universe is made up of awareness or qualia. We have sensory experiences, and that's the ultimate nature of reality. And the interesting thing is, in quantum physics, there are a lot of problems. There's entanglement, where something happens here and over here, and instantaneously one electron spin changes the spin of the other faster than the speed of light. It's instantaneous. And you can actually have the wave and particle experiments where the observer, when they're aware of what's happening, the way they set up the experiment changes whether you experience light as a wave or a particle when you're measuring it. And in recent research, they've actually done where people are holding that focus on having a wave pattern, and statistically significantly, it will create that happening in this machine that they've set up to measure it as a particle or wave. So there's actually a little bit of an observer effect that we can notice and we can mention and we can find and discover. So that observer effect, how does that happen? The entanglement, how does that happen? And if the universe is made of awareness, then all the paradoxes in quantum physics are resolved. So awareness is key to everything. It's sort of in the background, like fish in the water. They don't know that the water's there. Perhaps on one level, the universe and cosmos are made of awareness. We are made of awareness, and awareness is key to integrating and healing consciousness. I love this card. It's from the Osho Zen Tarot, and it's this, you can see, it's sort of this shadowy figure, and the veil is parting, and inside each of us is this pure kernel of awareness. So when the wheel starts, the first thing that happens is we bring our awareness to the breath, breathing in and breathing out. And we're really encouraged to experience the breath, not just in sort of a dry fashion, witness it or observe it, to experience the wave of your breath flowing in and out. And some people will experience that more at the nose, some people in the chest, some people in the belly, and some people in the whole body. You feel this wave as you breathe in, you feel this wave as you breathe out. Now, the reason why Seigel says it's important to experience the wave of the breath is when we experience something, when we really feel it in the body and we experience it, that stimulates the lateral areas in our brain. When the lateral areas of our brain are stimulated, and that's where we sense sensations and the senses are there, it inhibits the middle portions of the brain, which some of you may know is called the default mode network, which is what is sort of spontaneously generating our sense of self. We could say that the monkey mind or that busy mind. So when we go to the sensations and experiencing things in the body, it automatically inhibits that, which lets our minds, the monkey mind, the roof brain chatter, it lets that slowly calm and settle. And the breath also creates this regular rhythm. Life is chaotic, things come and go, but the rhythm of your heartbeat, the rhythm of your breath are constant. And so it creates really a holding environment that allows us to relax, allows us to soothe and settle. So one, because we're stimulating the lateral areas, it lets the busy mind relax. And two, it's almost like being held by the mother of the breath. It's dependable. We can control it. We can allow it to hold us as we breathe in and we breathe out. So the first thing we do is we bring our awareness to the experience of the breath. The second thing is we bring our awareness through our senses to the outer world. Now, we're doing this all the time, but we kind of take that for granted. We really don't focus on it. So one of the things we do in this first quadrant is we bring our awareness to the sense of hearing, and we allow sound to fill awareness. Then we bring it to the sense of touch, and we touch our clothes, we touch the chair or the floor in the room we're on, we touch perhaps there's sun or a breeze. So touch is a way we also experience the outer world as a way, as well as sound. And touch is very, very primary, but it also has to do with things very immediate and close to us. So in the touch segment, we're not feeling the inside of the body, we're using the exterior surface of the skin to just touch whatever is there, and it takes us back into that experience. And then we move into smell. So we're having that fragrance come in and out, and some people, there's not a lot of fragrance in the room you're in, but if you get subtle, you can actually smell the fragrance of the room that you're in. And then the next we go to taste. And then finally, I like to do sight last because it can so overwhelm. And when we do sight, you can bring your awareness either with your eyes closed or open to the awareness of light coming in and out. So we're trying to get away. If they're open and you're seeing set forms and things like that, we're just letting the colors flow in and out. So again, it tries not to get that thinking brain real engaged. And one of the clever things is here, we've broken it all down. And then it's really nice sometimes to just sit afterwards and just open to all the senses. So it's a little bit like you're listening to a beautiful piece of music and then you listen to the bass and the keyboards and the trumpet section and the drums. You perceive each separately, and then when it comes back together, it's that much richer and wholer. And that's one of the tenets of interpersonal neurobiology, which this was developed out of, is we break things down, we bring them together, and that creates more awareness and more integration and more wholeness. So after bringing the awareness to the outer world through the senses, we bring it to the body. So here we're getting that kinesthetic proprioceptive awareness. That first thing that we experience as the infant. And again, we're going to go through the organ systems in this. We're going to break it down. And then at the end of this second quadrant of the wheel, we're going to put it all together again. And it's like, okay, we've broken it down. We've really appreciated each aspect of our body on the outside and inside. And now we get to experience it all at once, again, creating that richer experience of our human existence. So the second is the awareness of the body. And the third is the mental formations. So we're bringing our awareness. This is from an ayahuasca image from an ayahuasquero. That's the hallucinogenic drug that they take to journey, especially in South America. So this is like all the mental formations. Inside, we have all these images that may arise, and feelings and thoughts and memories and hopes and fears. And oftentimes these coalesce together into different figures, shapes, and forms. They can take a personalization. We can think of different parts of ourselves that combine out of all these mental formations. So in the first part of quadrant 3, which is bringing awareness to the mental activity or the mental formations, we just become aware of whatever's arising and falling away. And I find if you try to do this, you actually activate a goal, and you're activating more that medial portion of the brain, and that's sort of more, this is more a right mode processing, images and synthetic versus the verbal analytic. So when you have that goal or intent, it sort of moves in that direction of the left hemisphere, and we lose the images, we lose the embodied state. So I encourage people to really, when we focus on the mental formations, to just relax and become receptive. And that's more successful. And if nothing arises, then you can enjoy a few moments without all your mental activity, which gives us repose and real rest and renewal. So that's what I call 3A. As we get comfortable with that, we can begin to notice, if you remember when you're a kid and you used to perhaps lay on your back and you look up at the sky and there are clouds in the sky and you can see different figures and shapes and forms, those are the mental formations. But also you began to notice the clouds might be moving fast or slow, or sometimes they're forming or dissolving or churning inside. And you can think of yourself here as the sky, awareness, and you're becoming aware of the clouds, the mental formations, but you're noticing here that it's not static. Sometimes a certain mental formation like anxiety might feel it's there all day long, that feeling. But if you really pay attention to it, you'll find it waxes and wanes. And sometimes it dissolves. And it's like the question, where does it come from? Where does it go? Like the clouds in the skies, little kids were like, what's happening? I didn't understand. They just form out of nothing and go away. That's a little bit of the metaphor of this 3B, as I call it, of the mental formations becoming aware of their movement, their change, their flux, their flow. Because although we feel they are permanent and fixed, they're not. And then we move to 3C. So as we become really comfortable with awareness and directing it to the breath, directing it to the outer world, directing it to the body, becoming aware of the mental formations and their flux, their formation and dissolving. In all those things, we're in the hub, and we're bringing awareness outside of ourselves. We could remember that diagram with that arrow going out to the rim. With awareness of awareness, we bring that arrow back. You can think of it as falling back on itself, or doubling back on itself, or for some, just resting in the hub. And so with awareness of awareness, when we rest in the hub, in a way, we're resting in the potential, this place of pure awareness beyond form and manifestation. And from that, we can go and experience very deep states of consciousness. Spiritual states naturally seem to arise here because we're going outside of all our conditioning to this unconditioned state. And it's almost like we can open to the entire cosmos within us by bringing awareness to awareness. So through the wheel practice, we've gotten to this very sort of expanded, refined state. And now we bring it back to the fourth quadrant, which Seigel calls awareness of relationships. And so we can begin by just bringing the awareness of the relation to ourself. And originally, Seigel just had, in the original form of the practice, becoming aware of ourselves. And then he'd have you become aware of all the relationships around you, starting with friends and family, and then letting that expand out. Not only if we were starting with that, we could bring the awareness first geographically to those close to us. And so we're gathered here in this Zoom, and my wife's in the other room. So first I bring awareness to people close to me geographically. Then I expand it out to the neighbors and friends and family. And then I just let that awareness open to people in my city or town. And then I like to then bring it to the bioregion or the watershed you're in, to become aware of all the people gathered there, and then spreading it out. And since I live in the North American continent, I spread it out to all the beings in North America, the hundreds of millions of people just living their lives, all wanting to be happy. And then I expanded out off into Central and South America, through all the oceans and the islands of the world, to all the continents and to the 8 billion people on the planet. And then we expanded one more to all life on Earth. So I've been developing through the practice the awareness of myself, and now I'm aware of all beings. So Seigel would call the awareness of ourselves the awareness of the me, and the awareness of all life here that's represented in this beautiful image of the we. And then he combines it, and he uses the word the ma-we, which is a little bit of a clunky term, but it captures bringing the me and the we together. And we want to think of this like a fruit salad, not a smoothie. We're not blending together, but I'm here and you're there. And then I'm aware of both of us at the same time. And the first time he did this practice, I was at a conference. There were maybe 500 or 600 people. And I almost began to weep, because it really brings it that sense of interrelationship and self and others, and how we all form and arise and create these larger fields of consciousness and awareness together. It was almost like experience the particle and the wave that I talked about earlier in that split experiment, and how they feel like they're completely different, but they're actually there at the same time and moment. We're actually both a particle, our own unique individuated selves, and there's the wave with all that exists outside of us and all these other forms that are present too, and all these other beings and all this other life. And it brings a balance to self and others. Now, the interesting thing about the word meditation is it actually means awareness. So a nice thing about the wheel is we don't have to bring the word meditation or any spiritual or religious orientation. So it's safe to teach in our secular world, which is one of the things I really like and enjoy about it. But the fascinating thing is when Seigel developed the wheel of awareness, he knew nothing about meditation. And he was talking about being awareful and bringing out mindfulness. And people would say, well, wow, so this is the form of mindfulness meditation? And he was like, what's that? So he did then go and study mindfulness meditation. And he went to Upaya, which is a wonderful Buddhist center. You can find their podcasts and their recordings at upaya.org. And they have 2 years they brought him, and there's a series of 8 lectures where he goes through the wheel. And since they're in Zen, you're working with awareness and mindfulness. It was a nice dialogue. But that's where I heard him, before he was exposed to contemplative practice, doing that fourth quadrant in a very sort of scientific way. And as he learned more about mindfulness and meditation, he learned about metta, or loving kindness practice. So he then integrated metta practice along with being aware of ourselves, bringing that loving kindness to ourselves, then to all living beings, and then to the we, which really balances that tendency in us, where some of us get very self-centered at times, and others of us can be very codependent, where we're too much in the we or too much in the me. But it really balances when we bring the we, and it balances, especially with the loving kindness. It touches very deep, and it balances holding both rather than being one or the other, because we need self-care and we need to care for others. So it's kind of like that saying, love thy neighbor as thyself, or treat others, the golden rule, as you would treat yourself. So we're actually practicing both of those at the same time. And then I usually finish, we come back to the wave of the breath and resting there. And then I let people rest in that for as short or as long so they can begin to come back in their own time. Now, back to our image of the wheel. One of the things that happens is people begin, one of the most significant things of the wheel practice is, one of them, we begin to separate hub from rim. So you can see the hub is the unique local field or pearl or sphere or dewdrop of awareness that each of us are. And the rim is what we're aware of. So most of us can think we are our feelings, or we are our sensations, or we are our thoughts. Seigel gives the example, he was teaching a 12 or 13-year-old boy. He was outlining the wheel of the awareness, and the mother was there next to him. And she said, oh my goodness, you mean I'm not my feelings? And she began to cognitively realize she could be aware of her feelings. They were a rich part of her existence and experience, but that wasn't ultimately who she was. And so when we begin to separate hub from rim, there's what we call this gap of mindfulness. And then we aren't a slave to our thoughts. We're not a slave to our feelings. We're not lost in what's happening in the body. We can begin to hold our experience with loving kindness and attention and feel the richness of a human life without being run by it. And that space, that wedge of mindfulness, makes all the difference. If you've ever been, triggered or in an argument, it's like you're triggered because you're blended, you're not separating hub from rim. So the more we do the wheel practice, the more we drop into that hub, that center. And we'll talk more about that in relationship to psychological work and soul work in the next few classes. So I'm going to wrap it up there for our overview and presentation. And I want to just open it up if there were any questions that before we go to do the practice, because I think when we do the practice, it will all, sort of fill out and become hopefully a little more focused now that there's our minds at least have a cognitive overview. So any questions before we go to the practice? Great. So we'll do about a 20-minute wheel of awareness practice. Oftentimes when I work with people in sessions, I'll do like a 5 or 7 minute, because I like to start with it because it lets things really open and ground and center. And the person, as they become aware of their bodies and their mental life, it may be clear what they want to focus on. And it also allows for a resetting. It's also important for me when I do an individual session or lead a class or group, because it lets me drop into the hub. It lets me grounded center. And I often think of that hub as the center of a cyclone or a tornado. It's the still point within this swirl of our outer lives and within that swirl of our inner lives. So you can start just by getting comfortable, just bringing your awareness as you're ready to your breath flowing in and out. And there may be busy parts or thoughts distracting you away. Just really asking them to step aside, just gently without judgment, bringing your awareness, your attention back to your breath flowing in and out, really allowing the experience of the wave of your breath, whether you feel that at the nose, throat, chest, belly, or your whole body, really allowing yourself to relax into that comfortable, dependable rhythm of the wave of your breath. And if your mind or there are a lot of mental activities taking you away, it's okay. Just gently bringing them back. We're developing this capacity of focus, of attention, of being able to direct and sustain our awareness rather than letting it run around willy-nilly. So it's like a puppy. It takes gentle, loving training. Awareness of the breath, experiencing your breath, the wave of your breath flowing in and out. And when you're doing this practice on your own, you might just hang out there for as long as you wish. But I find many of us in our busy culture, to stay with awareness of breath is really hard and challenging. A simple way is you can count up to 10 and come back if you make it to 10, but it's very hard. So that's why the wheel is nice, because it allows us a variety and a richness of awareness that can keep our attention in our too busy minds. So now we come back to that image of the wheel of awareness with the hub, the rim, and we're bringing our spoke of attention, this time not to the breath, but we start with the senses to the outer world, bringing your awareness to the sense of hearing, allowing sound to fill awareness, even if it's the sound of a quiet room. And as we do this, just know if there are any uncomfortable feelings or parts come up that are uncomfortable, you can always break the practice, open your eyes, go about your business. But if you sustain it, that can calm over time. So you're taking care of yourself. Some people's silence initially can be disconcerting. It really, you think if there are different parts or mental formations that are uncomfortable with silence, or other parts of you may crave that silence. So as we go through the practice, if anything feels too uncomfortable, you can break the practice. You can imagine a safe place and go to it. And when you're ready, you can come back and rejoin us again. So we move from awareness of sound to awareness of touch, allowing that surface of your skin, through that being aware of the touch of whatever the chair or couch you're on, skin, clothes, breeze, warmth of the sun, awareness of touch, allowing touch to fill awareness. And then bringing awareness to the sense of smell, allowing fragrance to fill awareness. And then bringing your awareness to the sense of taste, knowing this is a wonderful practice to do when you're eating a meal, to really bring that taste and the fragrance in. So right now, just opening to taste, perhaps just the taste of your tongue in your mouth. And then the sense of sight, whether through closed or open eyes, allowing light to fill awareness. And then opening to all the senses, sight, sound, touch, taste, fragrance. Just opening all the senses, as they say, lose your mind and come to your senses. And then moving to the second quadrant, that felt sense of the body, really opening to the sensations deep inside of all your muscles, of all your bones, tendons, starting with the sensations of the muscles and bones, bringing your awareness, this caring, loving attention to your face. Then the top, sides, and back of your head. Then to your neck and shoulders, all the sensations of your muscles and bones, especially noticing any areas that feel pleasant or comfortable or neutral. We spend so much time with pain or suffering, really bringing your awareness as this loving, caring attention to anything that feels comfortable, neck and shoulders. And then to your upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers, all the sensations of your muscles and bones. And if you wish, you can put just a loving, gentle little hint of a smile, bringing that quality of your awareness as you then move into your torso, your upper and lower spine, your ribs, your abdomen muscles. Think of your attention as being a loving mother holding each part of your body, just bringing that love, that compassion, that touch, that nourishment to each part of your body. So we now move pelvis, pelvic floor, hips, hip sockets. And then to your upper legs, knees, lower legs, ankles, feet, and toes, bringing this loving awareness. And then going deep into your abdomen, the whole digestive system, starting with your small and large intestines. And if it's hard to feel that, just imagine your awareness going deep inside your abdomen. Just imagine sensing small and large intestines. stomach. And then your esophagus, the swallowing tube that goes from the back of your mouth all the way down to your stomach. If that's hard to imagine, you can just swallow. You can feel that wave going down. And then bring your awareness to the respiratory system, starting with your nose. Letting the breath flowing back, the back of the nose, the sinuses. Down the throat. Down into the breathing tubes that divide into two and into all the different aspects, all the finer and finer channels, bringing the breath down to all the hundreds of millions of alveolar sacs there that you breathe in and out of, letting the breath flow all the way down with the breathing tubes deep into your lungs. And then to your physical heart, a little on the left side of the chest and in. As you become aware of your physical heart, you may become aware of its pulsations and perhaps even feeling the whole cardiovascular system that flows throughout your whole body, bringing your loving awareness to your physical heart and its pulsations. And then bringing your awareness to your whole body, putting all the pieces together inside and out, just experiencing this simple sense of whole embodied presence. We move to the third quadrant, and we're going to bring our awareness, our loving attention, just becoming receptive and open to the mental activity, to all the mental formations, imagining you're this sky and you're becoming aware of all the clouds that are in the sky, whether they're thoughts or images or memories or feelings, hopes or fears, or different parts of you. They coalesce into sort of a more organized whole. So as you're ready, bringing your loving awareness, just accepting, recognizing, holding all the different mental formations, the mental activity. And if they're hiding or none are arising, that's fine. Just open and experience that sky without a lot of mental activity. But the trick is to just become receptive, almost like that place right before you fall asleep where your mind settles and is just receptive to whatever arises without judgment, without a need to change or fix. And then, if you wish, you can just stay with that, or if you want, you can begin to become aware of the dynamic activity of them. Perhaps some feel constant, like a fogged in day, or some quickly appear and disappear, bringing that curiosity to that, to the formations, to the dynamic flow of the mental formations, just like watching those clouds form, dissolve, move, stay static, lying on your back, looking at the sky, especially if you did that as a child. Yes, I invite you, if you wish, to bring your awareness to the dynamic activity of the mental formations. And you can stay with that if you wish, or I invite you, if you want, to bring awareness to awareness. You can imagine either resting in the hub, you think of that as resting in the heart rather than the mind, or that spoke of attention goes out and doubles or falls back. Awareness of awareness, the sky, aware of the sky. And then we'll move gently to the fourth quadrant, the awareness of relationships, and just beginning with ourselves. May I be happy. Just letting that reverberate, or you can say that silently to yourself on the breath if you wish. May I be healthy. May I be safe. And may I flourish. And just returning to the breath again, you can think the may I as an intention. It's a gentle intention which increases the probability of that happening. It's that observer effect we talked about earlier. Intention is key, as is awareness and attention. So now imagining in the glance of your heart, those geographically close to us and us right here, even if it's through space and time, our presence is meeting. And letting that expand out to friends and family. And expanding out to neighbors, acquaintances, people in your city or town. Or the city and town close to you. And letting that expand out to whatever watershed or bioregion you live in. And to the millions of people in whatever continent you're located in. All living their lives, wanting to be happy. And letting that continue to expand through all the continents, all the oceans, all the islands in the world, these 8 billion people, and letting that expand one more time to all life on our precious and fragile earth. May all living beings be happy. May all living beings be healthy. May all living beings be safe. And may all living beings flourish. And then again, returning to your breath, we brought our awareness to the me, to yourself, to the we, to others, and all life and life forms. And now, perhaps, imagine bringing your awareness to the we, to yourself, and to others at the same time. They're not excluding one, not overly focusing on the me or the we, but this gentle balance and bringing this loving kindness to both. May we be happy and have playful and joyous hearts. May we be healthy and have bodies with strength and resilience. May we be safe, protected from inner and outer harm. And may we flourish and unfold for our highest good. And then as you're ready, just returning, bringing your awareness to the experience of the wave of your breath flowing in and out. And just resting there for a minute or two. And when you're ready, beginning to stretch, bringing yourself back to the room you're in, refreshed and alert.